Hi, I wanted to walk through how I played out the Divine Contention finale in the Defense of Leilon here in the Ruinstone and some of the shortcomings. So, my party gets back from the Neverwinter episode and survives the hurricane, the attack from the Talos guys um, on the Icing Death, and they get to Leilon. And the last quest before the battle is in the tower at the center. Galileo Libro there, and he's fully repaired the tower, and offers them a quest to help with the final attack. Concerned that Abendeth uh, is going to be a substantial threat. He thinks that they can find something on the ethereal plane that he can trap and put against. So he gives them the magic bell and tells them, hey, go out there, fight some stuff, and if you see a good one, hit the bell and I'll reel it in, put it in the traps, and we'll use it in the siege. So the guys, always eager for adventure, head into the ethereal plane and, of course, encounter the same things that they fought with the Star Spawn back in the earlier episodes. Now, one of the things that twists here is all of a sudden these pillars manifest and offer to bring them even farther from the ethereal plane. And they find themselves in this long hallway. They sound the bell, wondering what the heck is going on here. Ah, I had hoped this would happen. I need you to bring me, I mean, Leilon, the Ruinstone. Of course, he wants this for himself, and this is part of the twist. There is a door at the end of this hallway that has complex locks and gave the rogue a chance to work his way in. And the door opens and takes them from the ethereal to the astral plane, which out of time and space and this weird um, new realm that they haven't encountered before. But there's something here, something powerful that is of concern. And through their eye, they start to see the connectedness of things in history, how gods, monsters, fate itself have the at the center of these connections is the ruin stone. You can't help but notice that it looks like a heart. It even seems to beat as a heart. Start to perceive what it's all about. This is the legend lore I had them do earlier, and um, here I display it again for them. This is a shift in the history of the rune stone itself to help have it make a little bit more sense. So, in Times Untold, two stones turned in balance. Nothing empowered and nothing suffered of their making. But during a battle that began, an eon passed in the astral plane and cut across world barriers to other existences. A wizard warrior used his final act of defiance to reach across worlds and sever the binding of the two stones and deliver vast destruction on his enemies, but isolating his allies in worlds no longer linked by the Armada's war weapons. So this is part of the curse of the Ruined Stone. One of the stones tumbled through the infinite seas of the astral and ethereal, a fiery red crystal that found its way into the palms of those who would use its properties to bind and unbind to further their own power. And we'll hear some of those stories. Yet unleash fate so ruinous with a calamity, that often nothing is remembered of their stories except for the name, the Ruinstone. Even less is known of what befell the other stone or its nature. The Ruinstone has been pursued far more than it has been found. It imposes some power over time itself, thereby obscuring the history of its use. And in my campaign, when they use it, it actually reached back in time to change some of the stranger things that had happened in their stories so far, and sort of Deus Ex Machina explained why that happened that way. How many legends, how many peculiarities of history are tied to this pulsing heart-like artifact from unfathomably ancient time and distant space? Now Leilon faces imminent destruction between the forces of a storm god and a Draco Lich. All for this Ruinstone. So what's the story? Among its most ancient legacies was the dividing of the Githyanki, responding to the threat of a glowing slave rebellion. The Illithids, the Mind Flayers, formed an insidious plan to divide and conquer, pitting Gith against Gith. Using the artifact, they divided them and strengthened. But that was long before the power, this abstract property of the multiverse, took this form. Thank the Netheril for the binding into the so-called Ruinstone as a focus to exploit its power. The power to create, dissolve, or alter entanglements. So I'm borrowing a little bit here from quantum mechanics and thinking about things bound to each other, and that this is something that can alter them. So they start to get some glimpses of past or possible futures relative to these. These help explain some of the motives behind this looming battle. In the case of the forces of Talos, Talos was once revered by the Netheril, the most advanced civilization and perhaps the greatest power Faerun has known. But now he seems to be followed by a bunch of savages, these werebores and war priests and such that certainly don't merit the same kind of respect as this advanced civilization. So Talos has sent them to fetch him the Ruined Stone so that he might reestablish this connection. Setting up things for the Rime of the Frost Maiden, which is the next adventure we're going to do, I have this hint that an ancient city and an archdevil, both imprisoned in ice and seeking escape, have a binding. Abendeth's motive relates to another side story I've been running, which is the rise of Tiamat, and recognizing that this cult has a decent chance of bringing her power into the world. Abendeth sees the opportunity to exploit that, tying his own power to that of Tiamat, so that should she arrive, he'll be on a stronger footing. While not explicitly going after this, if the Runestone was to kind of become known more widely, certainly Rathmodar would try to do something similar as an insurance policy for his own forces. So then I have them understand that others have been looking for the Ruinstone, and as time and space are kind of warped, others in your proximity as you're here. I have some of these moves, um, described to them there are creatures from the far realm. Their being here is deeply terrifying. They're currently defeated and decaying, not a threat. I point out this Uvu Dome also. Um, and that they've been defeated by 3 astral ships that hover nearby. These were also seeking the Ruinstone, but came upon the Far Realm creature. Makes their case for why they should be the new keepers of the Ruinstone. The Eladrin um, established Sharandar in the Neverwinter Woods, tying new Sharandar to old Sharandar. But of course, there is a little bit of deception here, as that would greatly push out the non-elves, and the Eldereth of Eleuthera would greatly benefit. Uh, the Shadar who have a belief that the liches and evil necromancers that drew power from their queen uh, had done so using the ruined stone itself. If they can sever those ties, it would feed her um, power. What the curse side of this one is that upon that release, she will put the Shadar Kai to hunting down and destroying these people who dared to do this to her. And they have since grown tremendously in strength, not really relying on what they were leeching from her. And so there will be a lot of pointless destruction and distraction coming from that. Even if they chose themselves, they would suffer something similar. The Shisalkul, trying to reunite the Yeri and the Githzerai, are the third contingent. They they could reunite these. Of course, this is something that really needs to be a choice for them, and having the Runestone force this would erase a tremendous amount of culture and learning that had been gained along the way, and lead to other selected. But they do make their case, and in our storyline, Ugio is the character who is in the position to do this. Um, and each of them also, upon hearing of the conflict at Leilon, offer to send aid. And these are sincere. They need not be overwhelming, but it's part of the what's at stake. These 3 stakeholders, in fact, he chose something else rather than them. As that decision is made, its cascading impact causes other things. So what I had was the Yithrin city up in the Frozen Far has it its Mythalar activate, which sends out a quick beacon, just one. But I've been listening, and in this case, there were some Illithid that were monitoring the situation here. Kind of pick up on it. These guys fire some shots and pursue, noting that, boy, those guys are the real bad guys here. And it also gives me a opportunity to have that Nautiloid being shot down as part of Rime of the Frost Maiden um, into this parallel story. So they destroy the Far Realm creatures. They head off on their own. As the gateway manifest to take them back. There they learn that this use of the Ruinstone has actually let loose the other creatures that Galio Libro has trapped. They basically destroy him, then go off to their own places. And this is related by the Swords of Leilon, who are there to greet the party instead and say that they will make their final stand with Leilon in the. So they return to the material plane, having um, either secured some um, uh, reinforcement or at least some insight into why the town has garnered the interest of the Stormlord and Merkel. The battle ensues. And this is how I've alternately set up the battle for Leilon, concluding the Stormlord's Wrath trilogy with Divine Contention, and tried to have a better explanation of the Ruined Stones part in it all.